Today we celebrate one of the church's important solemnities, especially for the United States, as our country is dedicated under the patronage of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, which for many of us has become forgotten history, because when French explorers first discovered the great river that we now call the Mississippi, they mapped it as the river of the Immaculate Conception. And when the Spanish explorers went up from the east from the coast of Florida, they mapped the great body of waters now called the Chesapeake Bay as the Bay of the Immaculate Conception. Our national shrine in Washington, D.C. is the 8th largest Catholic church in the world, and it is dedicated as the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. And when our Blessed Mother appeared to Saint Bernadette in Lourdes, in France, Our Lady told her, "I am the Immaculate Conception." But even with such historic emphasis, the solemnity is often mistakenly confused as the conception of Jesus, which is told in the Gospel today. But we celebrated the Annunciation in March, 9 months ago, before Christmas. And the Feast of Mary's Immaculate Conception comes 9 months before the Church's celebration of her birth in September. So I pray that at least among us here, there will be less confusion about whose conception we're talking about or we're celebrating. Mary's Immaculate Conception is affirmed in the Gospel today from the angel Gabriel's words, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." A greeting that even Mary wondered about. And rightly so, as his words show the angel's amazement of Mary's immaculate soul, free from the stain of sin, which was something that had not been seen since before the events of our first reading when Adam and Eve sinned in the garden. But the magnitude of his words in English pales to compare the original Greek, which is translated probably better to read, "Honor to you who has been, is, and always will be full of God's life and favor." In other words, Mary didn't become immaculate. She always was immaculate from the moment of her conception in her mother's womb, and spared from the stain of sin by the merits of Jesus Christ. Mary's Immaculate Conception was not so much for her sake as it was to provide the perfect Messiah with the perfect vessel in which to enter into the world as the perfect priest and victim to atone for mankind's sins. And by God's infinite grace, Mary's openness, cooperation, capability for that grace far exceeded all other created beings due to her singularly unique relationship with the Blessed Trinity. She is daughter to God the Father. She is bride of God the Holy Spirit. And she is mother of God the Son. And by the merits of her Son, Jesus, Mary's yes to God's saving plan untied the knot that Eve tied through her disobedience, so that Mary, as the new Eve, in cooperation with her Son's mission as the new Adam, makes Mary mother of us all. Mary receives all her radiance from her Son, just like the moon receives its light from the sun without ever detracting from it. Mary always leads us as a mother leads her child by the hand into a closer relationship with her Son, Jesus. Mary is the perfect example of whom we all aspire to be like. Pope Francis says that regardless of our physical age, sin ages us interiorly. It hardens the heart. It closes it. It renders it inert and withers it. But Mary's soul never aged. She is without sin and full of grace, always youthful spiritually, the youngest of humankind, younger than sin. And we are all called to that interior youthfulness and holiness by God's grace. We don't deserve it. We can't earn it. But in God's infinite mercy, He gives us His help, His life, His grace as a free gift. But if we don't open the gift or use it, it won't do us much good. St. Paul in our second reading tells us that God chose us in Him before the foundation of the world to be holy and without blemish before Him. In love, He destined us for adoption to Himself through Jesus Christ. So through baptism, we are God's children by adoption. When our souls became immaculate like Mary, without the stain of sin, by God's free gift of grace. But that was a long time ago for most of us. And since then, our sinful choices to act in ways contrary to God's will has left stains on our souls so that we are no longer immaculate. We've made a mess, and there's nothing we can do about to clean it up on our own. We need help. We need God's help. His gift of divine life and favor. His grace, which reminds us of a lot of things, but to me, it's become personal because when I was in high school, the most prestigious thing you could wear any place around town was a Varsity letterman's jacket. That jacket of mine, it was red with a big black M on it and tan leather sleeves. It's probably still today the most expensive jacket that I've ever owned. It was the coolest jacket ever. And one afternoon, one of my teammates and I saw a buddy working on his car in a school parking lot. And we stopped to see what he was doing. He said he couldn't locate a source of a weird sound from his motor. So we both leaned over the hood while he revved up the motor, and suddenly there was a loud bang. And the next thing we knew, we and our varsity jackets were covered with greasy, brown, rusty water. They were stained terribly. My teammate, out of fear of what his father would say or what he would do, he hid his jacket overnight, and then the next day when no one's home, he tried all the cleaning products in the house to try and get it out, but to no avail. But I took my jacket straight to my mom, who immediately knew the stains required professional care. So we went to a local laundry and dry cleaning service for help. And a week later, I was able to wear my newly immaculate, unstained varsity jacket to the homecoming game, while my teammate had to wear a regular coat because his jacket was ruined. The sinful stains on our souls are kind of like that, because no matter how hard we try on our own, we can't remove them. But our mother knows how we can be miraculously cleaned and made immaculate again. And that is in the sacrament of reconciliation, where Christ, through His priests, restore our souls again. Now on 11 December at 6 p.m., we will have a great opportunity to have our souls wiped free from the stain of sin at our special Advent confession service. There will be 7 priests present here, each an expert in the field of forgiving sins in the person of Christ, to restore our souls to immaculate status and provide us with grace to avoid future sin. God's unmerited help, His grace is a free gift to us. But if we never open or use the gift, there's nothing we can do to keep our souls from being completely ruined, like my friend's varsity jacket. So this is what we want you to know this week. We too are called to become like Mary, full of grace. And that can only happen by opening ourselves up to God's unmerited help. That is His grace. Only then can we hope to live lives free from sin. And this is what we want you to do. Take a moment right now to reflect joyfully upon Mary, full of grace. Ask her to help you to remain spiritually youthful by saying no to sin and to live a beautiful life by saying yes to God.